Hello, everyone. We are back. Session
Yes.
4. Oh
Oh
my
my goodness.
God. Thank you, everyone who has stuck with us this far. We are on session 4. It is the Entrepreneurship Bootcamp Intensive, The Journey.
Yes.
And I am here with my co-host, Theresa Satchell, and we have just been having so much fun over these last 3 weeks. And now we're, like I said, in week 4, and
Mhm.
we're just ready to give you some more and more and more information. How you doing,
Yes.
Theresa?
Okay. I'm excited. I'm excited because I feel like tonight is like a great foundation for the journey. Money.
It is.
So I'm excited about the information that I'm going to be able to learn, because we're always learning, like we said, as entrepreneurs, and just the information that everyone else is going to learn, setting that foundation financially. So I'm excited.
My
Yeah.
sincerest apologies. Technical difficulties. I must have hit the mute button. We are going to get started. And tonight I am going to just give me a second as I get my screen share together. But tonight is, like Theresa said, it's all about budgeting. It's
Mm,
all about finance. It's going to be jam packed. It is going to be intense. And just bear with me,
yeah.
bear with us as we go through this presentation, as we go through the journey. I think it's going to be just everything that you needed, everything that you
Mhm.
wanted. And it is all about understanding finances, business and personal, and the power of budgeting and a few other tips along the journey. So when most people, they like, I got this idea. We're starting a business. I've got this great product. I've got this great service. There's so much that you get so enthusiastically passionate about. And you're usually not thinking about the fact that you got a budget. There are so many times when, as entrepreneurs, we get excited, and I hear a lot of people starting, and it's like, yay. And they think about, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money, but they don't think about budgeting. Budgeting is your best friend. It's it's so important and so necessary. It's not always fun. It's not always the things that you want to do because you want to create. You want to really, get into the weeds of your craft and your creativity, and you want to get that service out to the world and create value and impact. And you're so eager to get started, but this is really such a necessary evil. It's something that you have to do. And there's a trick to budgeting. And what is that trick? You do it smartly. You're strategic about it. The more you can cut corners, the more you can save, the more you are looking at is the better off your business is going to be. And the more you enjoy it. Because if you're not wasting all of your money to have a business, then you're saving money and you can break even and turn a profit better. So I want to go into some common causes of business failure. And I want you to see if you notice the common theme: lack of knowledge and experience in the business they're starting. A lot of people don't do research. They do not know exactly what it is and what it takes. They just think, oh, I can do it because I've got 20 seconds worth of experience, but I really don't have the knowledge. Insufficient startup money. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you can afford to do it. Failure to understand your market and customers. You don't do the research. If you think about it, we've talked about a lot of these things in the first few sessions, especially in the session when we talked about the SOPs in the business plan. So a lot of these things come back to haunt you if you don't take the time to build it out. Poor employee management skills. And that is so key because if you don't know how to deal with people and you don't know how to manage people, even if you don't have employees, you have vendors, you'll have outside contractors. You're going to be working with a lot of different people. And if you don't have these skills, to manage your product and or service as you receive help from outside, you could do in your business because nobody's going to want to work with you. Wrong location. You're online and you should be in a brick and mortar. You're in a brick and mortar and you should be online. You're in a brick and mortar and you're in a bad traffic location. You're not getting any help. Foot traffic, it's wrong location. So you're not going to make any money. Improper pricing of product or service. How do you price? What are the things you do? Now, that's a whole nother session that we're going to get into at another date and time, but a major cost, because a lot of times we're so happy to get our product out there. We may see somebody else with a similar product or service and they're charging this, so you try to charge less because you want people to come to your product, but that's actually the wrong way to price, and you're underselling yourself and you're not making the money that you need. Failure to understand and react to competition. Again, that goes into improper pricing of your product or service. So what that there's somebody else out there doing what you do? What does it cost for you to do what it is that you need to do? You don't worry about what somebody else is doing. Your price is your price, and it should not be predicated on what somebody else is doing and what they're charging. Failure to adequately anticipate cash flow. Poor budgeting. That's it in a nutshell. You do not budget. You're just kind of winging it. Insufficient time to devote it to business. Remember, we said entrepreneurship is a journey. You have to give yourself a sufficient amount of time to do the things that you need to do for your business. If you don't put the time in, the business will not grow with you or for you. Poor control of assets. That's your cash, your inventory, your receivables, your fixed assets. That means that you're not properly tracking the things that you need to track for your business. What is the running theme? The running theme is it all revolves around budgeting. It all revolves around planning, and it all revolves around something that is going to affect your ability to create revenue and profit. So I want to really dig for a second into personal budgets. And personal budgets are so important along this journey because what we forget is that we have to know how to manage our personal budget before we can manage a business budget. If our personal finances are funky and we don't know how to properly save, spend, and cut corners in our day-to-day lives, how are we going to know how to do that in our business lives? Because everything is transitory. These are transitory skills. So if you don't have them at home, you're not going to have them at work. So have you ever said to yourself, where does all my money go? When will I be able to pay off my loans? How am I going to be able to afford this, whatever that this is? Thinking about money makes me nervous. I'm not a math person. I can't figure out how to budget. I'm afraid to know how much I spend on X. And you know what those X's are. From Uber Eats and Uber cab rides and, Amazon purchases that you really don't need, all kind of stuff that pops up. My spending is out of control. Think about it. Have you ever said those things to yourself? And these are like key blockers to you being able to budget. But the truth of the matter is very simple. Budgeting will allow you to know where your hard-earned money goes, so you never have to question it. It's a first step in making future financial plans. It helps you limit unnecessary spending so you can afford the things that you need, not that you want, but that you need. Budgeting helps to limit that financial anxiety. There's no nervousness. Numbers are actual. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't, let's figure out what we need to move and what we need to cut so that we can get it. Budgeting only requires simple mathematics: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. But really, it's just mostly adding and subtracting. That is it. You can't get any more simple than that. And budgeting gives you permission to only spend up to a certain amount. So if your spending is out of control and you know that you have these other expenses and things that you need to do, then you can give yourself a limit so that it falls in line for everything else that you need to do. It helps to promote good habits. You can't get any better than that. So when you think about habit formation, right? Because budgeting is a new habit that a lot of us need to form, not only in our business, but in our personal lives. So when you say it takes the guesswork out of financial decisions at each stage of life, what does that really mean? Like, think about that. You meet expenses and limit and avoid debt as a student, right? You can prepare for marriage, children, home ownership as a young adult. You can save for retirement as an older adult. You can live and retire without being a financial burden on your family or the government. When you talk about setting up systems and using tools to help meet these goals, what are your monthly and annual goals? If you have a spouse, make sure you're doing them with your spouse. Is it applicable to that? How are you tracking your expenses throughout each month? Do you use a spreadsheet? Do you use an app? Some sort of financial management tool? You know, you have to look at that. How are you setting yourself up? How are you reviewing monthly and annually to see if you've met those goals, if you can improve? Why do we want to pay with cash? Avoiding unnecessary debt. Because if you pay with a card, then you have to pay interest. And if you don't pay out in enough time, then the interest goes up. And a $10 purchase on a credit card could eventually, with interest, cost you $15, depending on how long it takes you to pay it off. But if you pay with cash, you pay with cash. That $10 purchase is $10, no more, no less. Being prepared for the unexpected, because the unexpected will happen. So how do you be prepared? Because you're saving, because you're avoiding unnecessary debt, because you are setting yourself up for the different stages of your life, you know, and you are learning to be content with your life and what you have. A lot of times, because we don't budget, we think we need more or we need to do more. It's like, I never have enough money. I can't get these things. Why? And you have to think about it from a perspective of, because you never sat down and realized exactly how much you have. And even if it is not a lot, it is still enough if you do the things that you need to do to be able to drive. I say drive yourself forward. If all you make is minimum wage and you still have so much you have to do, even just saving $5 a week is something. And it is a great habit to form because you are saving. And that $5 a week is not going to make or break you. $5 a week, $20 a month. If you can save more, you do more. But it doesn't matter if you make $15 an hour or you make $50 an hour. You should be putting money away. You should be making sure that you're living below your means and that you can cover all of your finances the way that you need to. Period. End of story. So budgeting helps you form these amazing habits. So how do we budget? What does that mean? What does that look like? It's the money that you have coming in. What's your paycheck? Does it vary from week to week? Is it steady? What are you doing? How much do you earn? One of the key things that you have to pay attention to is your take-home pay. Take-home pay is everything after taxes, after dues, after medical insurance, after any withholdings. It is not your gross pay. If I make $3,000 a month gross, my take home will probably be about, depending on the state and the percentage of taxes, will probably be about $1,900. So while $3,000 looks great on paper, that's my take home pay every 2 weeks or every week, guess what? Your take home is less, because it is what you take after the government and everybody else is taking what they're taking out of your pay. And it is that take home pay that you pay attention to, because that is the money that you actually have tangibly in place to be able to do the things that you need to do. And that is what you budget off of. And you need to pay attention to that as well if you're self-employed or a business owner and you're responsible for paying your own taxes. Because it's so important that you pay attention to the money that is actually left after you've taken care of all the necessary things. And you got to look at the money going out. How many categories? It's a lot of categories. You got to look at, is it a need or is it a want? You know, is the amount I spend on this category the same every month, or does it vary? So those are fixed and variable. If it's fixed, that means that every month I am paying $120 on my family plan for my cell phone bill. It does not go up, it does not go down. My internet is $88.27 a month, every single month. It does not go up, it does not go down. Those are fixed expenses. Variable expenses. My grocery bill. I may spend $200 this month, and next month I spend $300. You have to analyze the categories. And we're going to go into some categories. But I really just kind of wanted to touch base on your personal, because I wanted you to really give yourself some food for thought, because you're starting a business or you already have a business, and you want to make sure that you're looking at your relationship to money correctly, because this is what's going to drive you towards success or failure. Expenses. Your needs receive top priority, hands down, no more, no less. It is what it is. That is it. Now your wants, you got to see if you actually need them. You know, I want to go on that trip to Acapulco. I want to go on that trip to Benin. I want to go on that trip to Thailand. But do I really need to go? Is it going to yield anything that is going to be of benefit for me and what I'm trying to produce with my business at this time? The answer is no. It's a want. You should really re-examine that. But if you need it, do it. If it's going to drive something, do it. I need to have a roof over my head, so I need to pay my rent and or my mortgage. I need to eat, so I have to have a budget for groceries. I need to exercise. People may think that gym equipment and or gym membership is a want. If you are going to be in entrepreneurship, your health is very important. And you need to be doing something to keep yourself active, to keep your brain active, to keep your body in movement, to keep you young and flexible. So making sure you eat well, making sure you exercise, and you keep yourself energized. Because they always say health is wealth. And I have to tell you, it is very true. Because if you are not healthy and you're not going to be able to do the things that you need to do and have not only the physical stamina, but the mental stamina to be able to go along on this journey. I don't care how old you are. So you have to evaluate those needs. Costs that are beyond purchase price associated with your wants. You got to look at and really break down all of these different sections because they're very, very important. Fixed variable. Fixed expenses, they remain the same month to month, like I said. You know, if it's contract, shop for better prices. Can I get a better deal on my cell phone? T-Mobile is charging me $120 a month. Verizon is charging $150. But if I go to Boost Mobile, it's $50 a month. You know what? If I can get the same services with Boost Mobile, unlimited for $50 a month, I think I'm going to change that fixed expense because it's going to free up $70 whole from what I am currently paying from $120. That's a lot of money that you can put towards something else each month. And then you times that by a year, you just saved a whole hell of a lot of money. Variable expenses, they change based off of some factor, which is usage. So a variable expense, which is also a fixed expense, is like your Con Edison bill or your PSE&G bill, your gas and electric, because you have to pay it every month. But some months, depending on your usage and your utility, how much you utilize the lights or your gas or your heat, that bill could be upward, or air conditioned, $500, or it could be as low as $100. So there's fixed, there's variable, and then there's fixed variable. And I know I didn't add fixed variable, but I'm going to talk about that too, because it falls into the variable category, but it's something that always stays. And you need to look at those as well, because you have to be able to treat any variable expense as if it was fixed anyway. Average it out. So if the average of the year is between your 100 lowest and your 500, but the average over a 12-month span is $275, then $275 should go into your budget every single month, because you know you're at least going to pay that much. And if you know that in the summer months, because you are running your air conditioner or your fans because it is extremely hot, you add extra for those months. And that's how you treat that variable expense as a fixed expense month to month. So I want to just kind of drive home some things. You got to keep track of all your individual income sources. Gross income is what you make before all of these things come out. It has all of this included. And it has none of this included. Take-home pay is everything minus your taxes, your local, federal, and state, Social Security, Medicare, union dues. If you're in the age bracket that I am, I know you remember FICA used to always come out of your money. You'd be like, who is FICA? They don't say FICA anymore, but that is the running joke. These are the things that come out. And after all is said and done, take-home pay. Your take-home pay serves as the foundation for your budget, always. So I'm just going to breeze through some expense category examples so that you know. So take notes. Please have your pen and paper out. If you would like a copy of these categories to help you with your personal budget, put it in the chat. I'll make sure that you get it after the class is over in your email. So you have food categories, whether you eat in or you eat out, your regular groceries. You have shelter. And these are all the categories that are associated with shelter, where you live. You have clothing. I don't ever want to hear somebody say, oh, I don't buy clothing. We gain weight, we lose weight, we get holes in our clothes, our shoes don't fit anymore, they're old. We do have to buy shoes and clothing. It is essential. So you have to budget for that. Your health. How much are your premiums? And we're talking about the ones that are not withheld by the employer, because some people, especially self-employed people, they have to pay for their health insurance out of pocket. You have to pay for their prescriptions, office visits, co-pays. All of these things fall underneath health. And yes, even your haircuts, because you need to look good. Looking good is feeling good. It is part of your health. You have to look at it like that. Then you have all of these lovely different transportation fees that pop up. So all of these different things, bottom, Uber, Lyft, taxi fees, parking, if you have a car, things. And if you have a car, inspection, you got to do that annually or biannually. You got to fix the car, you got to tolls, car wash, brakes, fuel, and you got to insurance. So we don't take into consideration a lot of these categories, but these are part of the expense category, and you really need to hone in when you're working on your budget what these things are so you're not missing anything. If you're in school or your children are in school, if they're in college or high school, or they just go to private school, school fees, entertainment is a part of life. Some people need to go to the theater. They need to go to the movies. They have these things. Cell phone and internet access, streaming service, that could be considered entertainment because we do everything. We watch movies from our phone. We stream from our phone. We need the internet access to be able to watch the news, to be able to watch movies, and pocket money for impulse buys. Oh my God, I just gotta have that. Did you see that? It's like the right color and the right size, and there's only one left. Oh my God, I gotta get it. It's not that much money, but that's entertainment. You really don't need it, but you want it. And you have to allow yourself, you can't be so rigid within your budget that you don't allow yourself, be occasional. And I stress very, very, very occasional impulse buy. Not often. Do you give? That goes into a budget. How much money do you usually spend on birthday gifts and holidays and all of those things? We don't think about that. If you go to a Christian church and Christian or Catholic church, you pay tithes or you give charity, your standard 10%. Or if you're part of some kind of religious or spiritual social setting or group, a lot of times they have membership dues to be able to keep the services that they offer to their membership in the community going. How much is that? Is it $100 a month? Is it $500 a month? What are you giving? Add that in. That's an expense. Do you have, your auntie, cousin Sally, Joe, who never have no money, and, you feel bad for them, so you give them $50 every month. That's an expense. Add that into your budget. And emergency fund. What are you investing in? How many people have retirement plans, IRAs? And even if you're a self-employed or just a full-time entrepreneur, sole proprietor, LLC, corporation, do you have a retirement fund? Do you have an IRA? Do you have life insurance? I put if applicable, but I'm going to tell you, we're going to take if applicable off. You need to have life insurance because you don't need to be trying to do a GoFundMe, have your family doing a GoFundMe when you die to try to figure out how they're going to put you in the ground because you didn't think about that beforehand. So emergency expenses, anything could happen. You got to think about all of these things when you are factoring in your budget. Travel, I think I put that twice, so excuse me. Other, tax preparation. You got to pay the person who's going to do your taxes. Your accountant needs to get paid. Do you owe taxes that are not withheld by your employer? You want to make sure you have money put away for that. And then you have expenses that don't make any sense to any category, but it's still something that you pay on. I don't know. There could be, your subscription to Toenails Anonymous. I have no idea, but it's still an expense. It is something that you have. Look at it. See what that is. Because there's always that miscellaneous category. Food, clothing, shelter, again, all of these things just kind of going over. And once you've mastered budgeting in the short term, you can start to think about the long term. because the later steps might not apply to you for a few years, but they will be easier to achieve in the future if you work on and master budgeting now. And the reason why this is so important is because once you learn how to really work on your personal budget, you will then become even better at working on your business budget. Because the business budget is the reason why you are here. And the business budget is going to allow you to plan appropriately for your business. The business budget is, what is it? It's a financial roadmap. That's what it is. It gives you the vision of where you want to take your business for the next 12 months. It helps you measure your success. If you're making money, if you're losing money. Is your business working? Where did I go wrong? What did I do? You can see best practices. You can build and maintain and increase profitability of your business if you work with a budget from the beginning. You cannot go wrong with budgeting. It is a plan for revenue and expenses and profits over a certain period of time. You can budget for the next 6 months. You can budget for the next year. You can budget for the next 5 years. Annual budgets are usually developed and broken down by quarters, months, or weeks. So if your annual budget is $50,000, right? That's your annual budget. And you break that down into quarters. So every 4 months, you're looking at, have you met that target goal for the month? If you break it down by each month, then each month, have you met that target within your budget? Have you stayed on course? Have you gone over budget? Are you under budget? Is there wiggle room? If you do it by the week, because you have some businesses that incur that much money that they actually do weekly budgets because of the revenue that they generate. You have to be able to look at that and say, this is what my weekly expenses are. So this is how much money I need to make. So these are the things that I need to do. The budget helps to drive your movement in your business and what it is that you have to do. It's a financial projection. It's a snapshot. It's, hey, this is what I could do. This is what, it looks like. And then once you actually completed it, you can compare the actual versus the assumption, and you can see where you need to make adjustments. But if you don't have that snapshot already done and you're not monitoring and tracking the things that you need to do, how are you going to know? You're going to be winging it. And then research has shown that having a budget allows you to see what is along the horizon. You can see so far into the future. You can see into next week. You can see into next month. You will be able to know if you need to shift or make some changes. And it is going to help you tremendously along your journey. Power of the budget. You're going to have more control, more control. And you'll be able to better deal with anything that pops up. That's the whole purpose of a budget. So why is this so critical to your success? Oh my God, talking about money, talking about budgets. 5 primary reasons. Write them down. Helps you predict cash flows and avoid surprises. We talked about that, but this is why it's so critical. It shows your banker/investors how you plan to pay them back a future loan. Because you may have to borrow money along your journey. And if they see that I can budget, this is what I've done, this is how I've made money, this is how I've saved money, this is how I adjust it, they're going to look at you as somebody who's responsible. And they'll say, I'll take a chance on her or him. And that's how you're going to move forward. It's going to highlight areas that you need improvement. It's going to highlight them quick. You're going to see it because it's outlined, because you're working on it. If you sit down with your personal budget and you know certain things need to get done, you know that I have a big expense coming up, you know that I have to pay off this credit card in like record time, because you're budgeting, you can see where you need to maneuver and move things. That's amazing. You need to be able to do that in your business as well. Helps you keep your operations running smoothly. Because if you don't know where your money is going and what you're doing and what you need to do, then your business is going to go through some major hiccups and it's not going to run smoothly at all. And it's going to help you project the future and take the steps that you need to be successful, to take the steps that you need to mitigate failures. That's why a budget is so critical to the success of your business. So let's kind of break each section down just a little bit. Helps you predict cash flows and avoid surprises. Ups and downs, seasonality, revenues and expenses. Do you have a business that peaks in the summer and wanes in the winter and is neutral in the spring? You have a lot of businesses like that. You have businesses that literally work by holidays. I make anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 each holiday because the business is holiday driven. Or I have a service business and I find that I get most people to do my service between January 15th, after they've made their New Year's resolutions, and the summer, the beginning of the summer. And then after that, I go on a dip. And then I pick back up again because people are trying to get it done before the end of the year and before the new year comes in. You have to learn, budgeting will help you learn the cycles of your business. They will help you learn what money comes in and when it doesn't. And you'll learn how to manage that money. So if you're getting $50,000 within 2 months, and then the next 5 months you get no money, you still have $50,000 that you need to now budget across that whole entire time span. So budgeting allows you to see those highs and lows, those inflows and outflows, and the cycles that they roll in each year for you. And you need to know that. You'll know when you'll have excess cash and when you won't. You'll know when you have more expenses than cash coming in and how to plan for that. You'll know when cash levels are low and cash levels are high. That is how a budget helps to predict cash flows and avoid surprises. Loan repayment. I hear people say all the time, I'm not asking for a loan. I don't want to owe anybody any money. That is the stupidest thing you could probably ever say on this journey. At some point on this journey, even if it is a very small amount, you will probably want to leverage somebody else's money in making money for your business. You're going to start out putting your money and your time and energy into it. But when you get to a certain point, if you get to a certain point, it would probably be beneficial. And again, that is another class, but I have to bring it up because I don't want you to have the mindset that I'm never going to ask anybody for help. Wrong. It's learning how to leverage. It's learning how to use somebody else's money to make money, pay them back, and then still have excess without breaking the bank for what it is that you need to do out of your own pocket. But again, that budget allows you to interact with the lender. It gives them something to react to. It lets them know I'm a responsible person. I have X amount of revenue and X amount of expense, and it is reasonable within my industry, and I am managing that successfully. But in order for me to scale and grow, I may need a little bit more, which is why I'm coming for lending. But I've maintained, so my snapshot looks really good. And people will say, there you go. You got to have a plan to pay it back. So what's your plan? What's your budget? If you get this amount of money and you're forecasting that you'll make this because now you have extra money for marketing and supplies, and to meet the demand that has surged for your product and or service, these are reasonable facts. And you're putting that into your budget that you'll be able to pay this back over a set amount of time at this interest rate, if there's an interest rate attached to it. Highlights areas that need improvement. Hey, we all get these things that happen. Revenues fall short. The budget is short. I can't raise them. I don't have enough money. Those are large variances. Variance is anything that's at a vast difference to what you have. Then you have small variances, just little things that happen over time. But if you mismanage your budget, they lead to large variances. They lead to things that are going to cripple you. But because you have a budget, you can revise it, you can go over it, you can look at the changes that you need to make, you can see where you can keep it balanced, where you're not going over on expenses, you're not bringing in enough revenue. You can say, okay, my expenses this month were $2,000. My revenue was only $1,500. And I've been doing that so that's a $500 variance. And if you don't begin to make the changes that you need to make and improve your revenue, then that's $500 over the next 6 months. That's a lot of money that you now are going to be in the red. So it allows you to see, okay, there's a pattern happening. What do I need to do to fix it? How do I go about doing that? And that's very, very important and very, very key to a lot of different things that are happening with your business. A budget helps you run your operations smoothly. Why? Because you're using operational metrics. You're using things that are going to drive the operations of your business. You are looking at ways to increase revenue at every second. You have data that is going to help you build your budget. All of my expenses, I bought $5,000 in supplies, and it cost, with those $5,000, I'm able to generate $15,000 in revenue based off of what I need to do with my product and our service. But if you don't budget the right way, price the right way, and do things the right way, it's not going to run smoothly. So it allows you to be able to see your patterns, to be able to use those metrics, to be able to say, hey, this is what, how and what I operate with, and what I need to do to just kind of coast. And that's really what you want to do. For a service company, you have to look at the number of services that are performed. And the reason why I'm highlighting a service company is because it is easy to do these things for a product-based company because you have a tangible product. I sell barbed wire wrapped in platinum. I know, far-fetched. Who the hell knows? Sprinkled with glitter. Could be a thing. What can I tell you? That's a tangible product. How much does the barbed wire cost? How much does the glitter cost? How much does the platinum cost? How much, what size am I making it? How many can I get? So if I'm buying a yard of barbed wire, how many 2-inch barbed wire dipped in platinum glitter thingies am I making? And you can break that down because it's very tangible. But when you have a service company, you have to look at the number of services performed, by what type, what you're actually performing each month, how long you take, and all of those things. And if some of those day-to-day things mix, the average price of your service, what you're actually charging for the service, and the assumption that you're actually going to receive your money in 30 days once you send an invoice. So you got to look at how quickly those invoices are turned around. Because remember, with a product-based business, they get the product, they pay. They don't pay, they don't get the product. With a service-based company, a lot of times you're doing the service first and the invoices don't get paid right away. There are ways that you can mitigate that by getting a deposit or a retainer. But a lot of times with a service, you have to produce the service and then they pay you. So how quickly are your customers paying you? And you have to be able to look at that. And it'll allow you to make those operational adjustments for pricing, for invoice processing time, for payment enforcement. If you don't pay my invoice within 30 days of receipt, you will receive a 30% late fee that will be enforced. And then you can actually add that into your contract. Who wants to pay an extra 30% because they didn't pay on time? Budget helps you project the future, actionable steps. So if there's a demand for your business is growing, you are reaching limits of your staff. How do you know when to add the next employee or get the next intern or hire another, outsource another vendor? If you have a budget and you see that your existing operations cannot meet the demand of what is coming in, but you're noticing that revenues are increasing, and in order for you to keep those revenues increasing, you may need to bring on another person or an intern or a volunteer or something that you may need to pay a stipend or a salary or an invoice to help you out for a long and or short period of time to meet your demand. If you had a budget, you can actually see how your business is growing. You can see what it is doing. You can say, I think I need a virtual assistant. I need something because I cannot keep up with the demand. But I need to because it's generating money and the business is growing, which is good. Because that's what we want all of our businesses to do. I don't care what kind of business. I don't care if it's service. I don't care if it's product-based. You want your business to grow over time. So budgeting allows you the ability to be able to see that and take the steps that you need to move along. If your customers want more of a selection, how are you going to manage the inventory? Can you afford it? What does that look like? If I make bar soaps and I have been making the 7 sets of soaps with these different scents for the last 15 years, and I keep getting requests for a specific type of soap, and they want me to make it because they are loyal customers and they say your other soaps were so good. If you make this soap, I will buy it. But they keep asking you, can you add that to your inventory? What does your budget look like? Can you afford to add another product to your inventory? Can you afford to add another service and change something up? Because it's something that you can do, but can you afford to do that service? What does that look like? So you want to really be able to see that. A budget will help you look at that because it's going to help you look at those monies. is going to help you look at where you are in your current state and where you could be in your projected state to say, yes, I can add one more product. Yes, I can add one more service. And this is how I'm going to set it up, and this is how I'm going to market it so I can generate that money because the customers want it and they're asking for it. And I just basically touched on the last two, customers for product and for another service, because you have to be able to really, really look at those things. So things to keep in mind as you begin to create your budget. You're gonna create a manageable and meaningful budget. Your categories, revenues, expenses, they should mirror how you currently track your income and expense. That's why we went over personal, because your personal budget is not that much different from your business budget. It's going to be the same kind of tracking. You're going to track your income, what I make from my W-2 job. I'm tracking my revenue. That's what I make from my product or service being sold. I'm going to track my expenses, my day-to-day living expenses. You're going to track your expenses, my day-to-day business expenses. It's the same plus, minus, multiplication, and division. It's the same addition, subtraction, X, and divide. You're just putting different categories for personal and different categories for business. That's why it's so important that you master personal so that you can master business. Because if you've got an impeccable business budget and you're rocking that and you suck on the personal aspect, something is wrong. Because you should not be, your house should not be in foreclosure. You should not be trying to figure out how you're going to pay for this, that, or a third in your personal, and your business is thriving. But the caveat to that as well is if your personal is messed up, 9 times out of 10, so is your business. Decide if you should break categories down further, Look at the different categories that you have. Make sure that they are as defined as possible. Because in doing that and in tracking that, you also kind of use this for your taxes. You use this with your accountant. You use this for audits. It allows people to see. So you want to be as finite as you can in your categories that you use and how you break those down. And then you want to check your budget against industry information. See if your business is in line with the averages. There are so many tools and resources now on the internet. Even though I know we have been in a pandemic and COVID, online library resources are still very valid. I use them all the time. Business libraries are phenomenally great. Before the pandemic, I lived in the business library. They knew me by name. I would be in there researching and checking all different kind of industries, helping my clients with all different kind of budgeting, even with my own, to make sure that I was in alignment with past, current, and projected future averages for my industry. And I know it's like, wow, this entrepreneur thing, it's like so many little details. Like, why do we have to do all of this? This is the reason why Theresa and I decided to do this boot camp. I just want to interject for a second here. And it is because there are myths in abundance on what entrepreneurship is. And these things that we are teaching you, I know it's a lot fast, but hey, it's an intensive and we're trying to pack it in. These are the things that you need to know to be properly prepared. And there are so many people out here who are not prepared. And they think they know because they Googled something and it gave them a list of steps, but they didn't really understand the intensity in which you have to do this. And while I use strong words like intensity, it is because when you decide that you're going to run a business, even if it is small in scale, and your design is to keep it small in scale, because you have this innate passion to do this thing and you just want to do it within this box that you created, you still have to do all of these things in order to keep it within that scale in that box. If you want to blow up like the next Jeff Bezos, you still have to do all of this. And then some. That's a whole nother masterclass that I'm gonna have to give you on that one. So make sure you keep a lot of these things in mind. So some key takeaways: creating a solid budget by using your operational data that you use to run your business. It's going to help you make key decisions about your business. Compare your actual financial results against your budget every month. You know the variances, because that's extremely important. Whether you're over in, whether you're under in, is going to allow you to change the things that you need to change to create that action plan that you need to be in alignment across. Use your actual versus budget variances is going to help you drive those improvements. Again, all about the future, all about planning, all about actionable items, all about improvements. Without that budget, you're not going to know if you should go left or you're going to go right. Without that budget, you're not going to know if you're missing a key operational metric to include in your expense and or revenue stream. Without the budget, you're not going to see where you can scale and grow, or where you need to make the changes so that you can achieve profitability. Part of the journey of business budgeting is bookkeeping. I have a few slides on this because bookkeeping is a very important tool. It is probably the one thing that most people don't realize, because it's such an old school term, a bookkeeper, bookkeeping. But that's basically how you're going to organize your budget. It's organized process of tracking all income and expense transactions. It is a critical component of financial management. It's going to help you lead to better business decisions around just everything. And you want to really, really, really be clear around that and understand that that dynamic. Like, bookkeeping is how you budget. It really is. So 10 basic bookkeeping steps. Let's get into it. What does that look like? How does that look? Guess what? Business accounting software or Excel spreadsheet. Obtaining that software is critical for success. I don't care if you use a general ledger book because you're that old school, but you want to either get some accounting software. QuickBooks is a very popular one, or you want to use a standard Excel spreadsheet because it can help you calculate without using a calculator and a piece of paper. You're putting it into this sheet, into these cells, and it is going to allow you to calculate at the click of a button. And if you say, oh, I don't know Excel, oh, I don't know how to use that, then you get an accounting software, because that's even easier. And yes, it's an investment and it will become an expense, but it'll be an expense worth getting. Open a separate business account. You do not want to mix business and personal. Ever, 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 ever. Ever, ever, ever. You don't. Your business is your business, your personal is your personal. When you file your taxes, your business is your business, your personal is your personal. If you start muddying the waters and crossing the line, you're not going to know what you are really making and truly doing with your business. You're not going to be able to ascertain exactly how much money is coming into your business and what really is going out and where. You're not in business to pay your mortgage. You're in business for the sake of business that's going to allow you a certain level of profit that you can then pay yourself and then pay your mortgage. I can't stress that enough. Again, it goes back to mindset. It goes back to how you have to think about the separation between your business and your personal. But you want to make sure you open a separate business checking account. You want to reconcile that checking account every month. You want to reconcile it with your accounting software, with your spreadsheet. You want to be able to make sure that everything that you have going into the account is everything that you had coming in as a revenue stream on your Excel sheet or your accounting software. You want to make sure that every expense that you have going out is the same expense that you had on your revenue stream, your Excel spreadsheet, or your accounting software. These are the checks and balances that you want to have. And again, this is how budgeting, this is how all of these things help to keep things streamlined and to keep things very neat. You want to track your sales. What are you using? Save your invoices. You want to write an invoice or a receipt for everything. Track your sales. How much am I selling? You don't ever want to sell something without writing a receipt or an invoice and saving that, because these are the things that you're adding to your accounting software or your spreadsheet that you actually got paid. And it's also a way to track that you actually got paid. So if you send an invoice and when they finally pay that invoice, you can stamp it or write paid on it. You know that you've received those monies. You're going to add that in. Those monies went into that bank account. You now have that to be able to track what you've done. And you want to do that religiously, because you don't want to get in the habit of forgetting that you made a $10,000 sale and you're not accurately adding that to your budget, to your Excel spreadsheet. It's not accurately reflected in your checking account. You're trying to figure out, oh, I've got an excess in revenue, but you didn't account for it the right way across either spectrums. Deposit or sales. Cash sales, put them in there. Checks, make sure they go into your checking account. Do not spend your cash sales. Make sure you keep invoices, register tapes, sales books, deposit slips. You want to have an accurate accounting of everything that you sell, every product, every service. If you are a cash business, you have to document everything, because there are still cash businesses out here. And they make most of their sales not through credit cards, not through electronic means, hard-earned greenbacks. You want to make sure that is properly documented and you're depositing all of that into your checking account. That checking account is going to allow you to have a streamlined, centralized place where you can now reconcile and check against your accounting software and or your Excel spreadsheet to make sure that you're meeting your budgetary obligations and your revenue obligations to be able to handle your expenses and keep your business running smoothly. Write business checks for business expenses. It's like, write a check. Yes, write a check. Or if you really want to be modern and up to date, set up a payment system through your business checking account. If you're going to do ACH or electronic payments, make sure it comes from the checking account. all money goes in or expenses go out, because you don't want to have a different place here and a different place here and a different place here. If you have PayPal, make sure it is linked to your business checking account. If you have Cash App, if you have Stripe, if you have Square, make sure it is connected to your business bank account so that every time somebody swipes, the money goes to your business bank account. Anytime there is a payment in PayPal, that money then transfers over to your business bank account, because you want everything to flow into one pot so that you are not trying to keep track of multiple things. And then pay all your bills the same way. Pay all of them out of business checking account. You're either writing a check or you're setting up ACH or electronic bill payment through your business checking. Do not use your personal credit card for your business. Get a business credit card. If you're starting a business, if you have a business and you have decent credit because your business doesn't have business credit yet, you can leverage your credit score and your credit worthiness to obtain a business credit card. And then you use that business credit card to make sure that you are doing only business stuff with that. That is it. That is all. Do not mix business and personal. When you get money for your business, pay your business expenses first. Don't pay yourself first. Pay your business expenses first. Make sure your business can maintain and sustain running. You get your money after you've made sure you've paid everything. And you're going to generate and use a profit and loss statement. And that's going to allow you to understand what your revenue was, what your expenses was, what your profit was, and then you can pay yourself out of that profit. If you're a sole proprietor, you take an owner's draw. If you're an LLC or a corporation, you can do owner's draw, or you can pay yourself a salary, depending on how much revenue that you have. And no, you don't have to put yourself on W-2 status as an employee, but there are ways to work with your accountant to say, based off of what we generated, what we made, expenses, this is what was now profitable to the owner. And they're all kind of, but I'll let you work that out with your accountant. So next, we are going to go into financial statements. Ooh. And the reason why is because all of these things are part of the budgeting process. So we went over what budgeting is. We talked about how it's managing what's coming in, what's going out. It's tracking everything. It's setting yourself up now with the proper tools that you need. It's making sure that you can see, you can forecast, you can compare, you can look for variances, you can create ways to improve and or shift as needed. And it rolls into financial statements. And financial statements are really important because it is three main statements that help along your budgeting journey and along your financial journey. That is a balance sheet, that is cash flow projections or cash flow statement, and that is your profit and loss or your P&L. And these are all things that are part of the budgeting process. These are all the sheets that you're going to use in one way or another. These are now the breakdown statements of your budget, of all the things we talked about, of managing the inflows, managing the outflows, the revenues, the expenses. Where is this going? Did I take out a loan? How much interest do I have? All of these things are roped up into these three basic statements. Now, there are more statements. There are more financial tools. as you grow and as you get bigger. But I don't care what size your company is. These are the three basic statements that help you along your budgeting journey and along your financial journey with your business. A balance sheet, what is it? Oh my God. It's a statement that gives you what? Assets, liabilities, equity, capital, your total debt at a point in time. It includes assets on one side, liabilities on the other. And you balance to see a true picture of if they add up, because your assets is everything that you bring in. Your liabilities is everything that you have to pay that goes out. Revenue, expenses. So you see how we went through the basics and it's starting to morph into more general terminology, but I'm not really telling you anything different. And I did that transition because I needed you to understand that you need to see exactly what it is. So when you hear these terms, you understand that your liabilities are your expenses. Your assets is the money that you bring in. So if you're bringing in 5,000 and it goes out and it balances, that's your balance sheet. If you're bringing in 5,000 and 2,000 goes out, your balance is a $3,000 variable in favor of your assets. So you still have 3,000 left in assets. Again, a balance sheet is a snapshot for the financial position of your company. You can calculate it every quarter, every 6 months, every year. And the two main things that you're looking at are your assets and your liabilities. So sample, assets, 10,000 in cash, 5,000 in equipment, 20,000 in inventory. So I got cash on hand, 10 grand, equipment, 25. Inventory that I could sell, I got $20,000 in inventory. Perfect. Done. Liabilities, 20,000 in cash. That's the only liabilities. I mean, not cash, just liability. So my total assets is 55. My total liability is 20. What happens to the other 35? That's my equity. It's that simple. That is a balance sheet. The sum of my assets minus my liabilities equals my profit. The sum of my assets minus my liabilities equals my equity. And it balances it out because it's both 55K at the end. That is it. That is all. Because sometimes we overthink money. We overthink budgeting. We overthink balancing. It is not that hard. It is not scary. It is actually very, very simple and very much needed. We need to be able to see these things. We need to be able to see how easy this is. And my goal with this workshop, and in the future, we'll have more workshops. I'll break this stuff down even more. I will go even deeper if, it's needed and it's wanted, but it really is not that hard. And the reason why it's so important to understand all of these things is because if you don't understand the basics and you go out and you hire a bookkeeper or an accountant and they're managing your money and you don't know what they're doing, you just sold your business. Because somebody can embezzle your money, they can take your money. They're like, well, she don't know anyway, or he doesn't know. So I'm skimming off the top. I'm changing numbers, all kind of crazy stuff. You want to know the basics so that you can also check who you have helping you. Cash flow. Woohoo! What is cash flow? Cash received less the amount of cash paid over a period of time. Moving cash in or out of the business. Sounds like your balance sheet. Sounds like a budget. Sounds like all of these things, right? But these are the things that you have to pay attention to. So cash flow projections or cash flow sheets is a great tool for setting sales goals, for planning expenses to support those sales. Think about it like this. You can use it as a related tool to determine if you're going to break even at some point during a startup or expansion phase, if you need to plan for a large expenditure, such as extra equipment you need to purchase, or moving to a new location, or even if you have a seasonal business, with periodic large inventory purchases. Cash flow projection can help you have the cash on hand that you're going to need to make the large inventory investment when you need it. So that's very key that a lot of people don't pay attention to, but it really does help. Again, inflows, outflows, assets, liabilities, revenue, expenses, all the same thing. But if each statement, each budget, each financial statement breaks it down even further and gives you more flexibility and more room to do your projections and work within what you have and figure out how to get more or shift. How can a cash flow projection help? And when do you need one? So it helps because it's going to allow you to set goals around your expenses and your sales. Your break-even point. Your break-even point is, I am finally making sure my break-even point is exactly what it says. I've spent $20,000. I've made $20,000. I broke even. We are here. I spent $20,000. I made $30,000. That's a 10% profit. I spent $20,000. I made 15. That is a 5% loss. Cash flow projections allows you to say, I'm good. I've zeroed out. I've made a profit. I've taken a loss. You always want to break even or make a profit. You start hitting too many losses, that's not good. You know now you need to really look at what is going on. Planning equipment purchases for replacement or expansion. What do you use to create your product? What do you use to create your service? What do you have? What's the lifespan of it? When it starts to conk out, you have to know it's got a 5-year life expectancy. So I need to make sure that I can replace this and or do necessary upgrades, and or even if it's service-based and you need to upgrade software because it's something that you're doing online with your service-based business. What's the lifespan of it? The technologies that I use are changing all the time. So I need to be able to upgrade annually or biannually, every 2 years. You have to be able to look at these things because that is part of your equipment purchases. And your cash flow projection will allow you to see when you can make those replacements and work toward getting yourself the flow and the cash that you need to do that. As well as, again, purchasing inventory in seasonal cycles. I know some of this may sound repetitious, but it is so key because we don't realize that doing it in one place allows it to go to another place, which allows it to go to another place, which the ultimate goal is to see how much you're bringing in, how much is going out, what is your profit margin? Do I need to adjust? What do I need to cut back on? What do I need to maneuver to make this a reality for growth, for scale, for expansion? Or what do I need to do to shift because I am not going to be able to meet the demand that is upon me? So what other changes do I need to do? How can it help you? What do you need? Again, track liquidity. Liquidity, how much cash I have. What my realities are around cash. Determines my need for financing. And again, shows lenders the ability to plan and repay financing, which is actually something that they ask when you're doing a loan application for business. What is your cash flow? What are your balance sheets? What is your profit and loss? And even though they're all saying the same thing in different ways, these are the tools that are used. And that's why it's so important for you to know them and understand them along your money journey. So sample cash flow projection. It literally has your sources of cash, your operating uses of cash, and your non-operating uses of cash. So sources of cash, what is that? Oh my gosh. It's basically, what do you have? What did I start with? What were my sales? Accounts receivables. Do I have anything in collections? Do I have any interest? Do I have any loans? Equity contribution, that is money that you put into the company. Your profit that you put back into the company. That's the contribution. That's equity. Operating uses. So labor, wages, taxes, rent. Again, what does that sound like? Utilities, travel, insurance, expenses. Sources of cash, what comes in? Operating uses, what goes out? Revenue, expenses, assets, liabilities. Non-operating uses of cash. That's all the other miscellaneous things that fall underneath categories that don't fall under operation, but is necessary. And you can then look at what your ending cash balance is from month to month. I started out with 15,000. I had another 10,000 come in. That is 25,000. I paid off 10,000 worth of debt and uses for operating and non-operating, and I was left with 10. If my math is off, I am so sorry. But you get what you basically get the gist of what I'm saying. And that's your ending cash that you then roll over into the next month. That's how you project. That's how you begin to see. That's how you begin to kind of sample the flow. And that puts us into profit and loss. What is a profit and loss? This is the third basic statement that is used. Profit and loss. So just like a cash flow projection helps you see the cash status of your business now and to help you plan for the future, it actually is a good way to prepare and plan your financing needs and allows you to realize where you're going. I have this profit. I have this loss. So it turns into the profit and loss statement, which is probably the best tool for knowing if your business is profitable. It measures your revenue. There goes that word again. Also called your sales income. So your revenue is your sales or your income. You see how all the statements are interchangeable. And your expenses from month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year. You'll know how much profit you made. And you'll know if you incurred a loss. And I always suggest tracking it month to month. I made $2,000 this month. I made $2,000 the next month. But my expenses for month one or January were $500. So I had a profit in month one of $1,500. In month two, that same $2,000, my expenses were $2,500. I have a loss of $500. And you can track the ups and downs of each month in a profit and loss statement, which will culminate into an ending balance. I'm sorry. It really helps you track the profitability of what you sell, whether it is a product or a service. So a profit and loss statement is what? It is your income. It is your revenue. It is your assets. How successfully are you buying and selling? It helps you manage that. It helps you to grow, repay, and support yourself at the end, once you know what your profits are and or your losses are. Even though the balance sheet is important, even though the cash flow projections is important, it culminates into this profit and loss, and it is the most important financial management report that you need to really have. It's really going to provide so much information for you. It's almost like the culmination of the balance sheet and the cash flow in your budget into this document that just measures it all. And actually, your profit and loss is what you give to your accountant at the end of the year. So he knows how to file your taxes. This is how much I made. This is what we spent it on. This is the debt or loans that I had to repay. And this is what was left for the year. Track it month by month. And if you have a really good accountant, he can sit down with you with that profit and loss statement and help you strategize for better movement for the next year in the next cycle. So something to really think about as you begin to really understand. And I'm going to go into how simple profit and loss statement is. Basic formula: your sales minus your cost of goods sold equals gross profit minus your overhead equals net profit. Your sales is your product or service. Your cost of goods sold is how much it costs to create that product or service. What went into it? What are your products and materials? And whatever's left is your gross profit. So if my sales were $5,000 and it cost me $1,000 to make that $5,000, then my gross profit is $4,000. Then my overhead, that's all your operating expenses and non-operating expenses. So my overhead to maintain the company and the business was $2,500. So you subtract that from the $4,000 and my net profit is $1,500. I made a profit of $1,500 off of $5,000 worth of sales. That is profit and loss. It really does not get any simpler than that. People think that business financing is expensive. They think that it is out of their league. I don't have an MBA. I did not go. How am I going to do this? How am I going to manage this? What did I say to you earlier in this presentation? That basic math skills is all you need. Plus, minus, equals. Plus, minus, equals. Every now and then, you might have to do multiply, divide. But your two basic mathematical functions in any basic business is plus, minus, equal. When you start getting into other things, it's because your business has expanded, you're into a different industry and or field, and the mathematics of it gets a little bit deeper and more in depth. And then you definitely need to hire a team for that. But you'll still be able to understand the basic concept of it because you understand what comes in, what goes out, how much it costs to make it, and what is the final that comes to you or is a loss. So what happens with the net profit that remains? What are you using it for? If you're a sole proprietor, you do what's called an owner's draw and you pay yourself because that is your only source of income. So whatever is left, that's your income. You now manage your personal budget and finances. If you are a corporation or a LLC, there's other ways that you do that for your net profit. It goes into what they call owner's equity. And you have a choice to take some of that, which you will document, or put that equity right back into the corporation, right back into the business. Future expansion and equipment. If you had a profit, I need to buy more. I need to expand. I'm not going to take that money. I don't really need it. So I'm going to put it back into the growth of my business. If that profit comes along, oh, I took out that $10,000 loan and I've got $20,000 in profit. I can pay off my loans. I'm in good standing in case I ever need to take out another loan again. I can pay off the principal. I can pay it off in full. I can do what I need to. I have extra money. I've made profit. I can siphon some of that away to make sure that I have enough that if I owe taxes at the end of the year, I have enough money to pay my taxes. That I can pay income tax if I'm a sole proprietor. That I can pay income taxes or employee taxes. That I can pay business taxes and or excise taxes if my state and or my business has an excise tax that I need to pay. So you make a profit. There are a lot of ways in which you can divvy up the profits to pay yourself and reinvest back into your business. So some key points to remember. And the key points are financing gets you the money you need to start, operate, and grow your business. But before you can get financing, you need to be able to start with a budget. You need to be able to know what is coming in, what is going out, what your expenses are, what you have. You need sound bookkeeping to make sure that you manage your finances. Again, financial management software, if Excel is not your friend. If Excel is your friend, by golly, use it because it is just as good. It really depends on your comfort level and but you want to use one of these because it automates it. It's electronic. All you're doing is simple data entry. You're plugging in numbers. And if you plugged in a number wrong, you can go back and autocorrect. You're not writing it in the book. You're not erasing anything. It's not, have a calculator. It's like, oh my God. You can literally check, double check, recheck because you are saving all your receipts. You are streamlining everything into your business bank accounts. You are making sure any avenue that you use to get money, even down to your cash, hard-earned greenbacks, that you're documenting. Making sure that you are using and you are keeping up with the 3 statements, which are so simple to do. Balance sheets, cash flow statements, profit and loss, because it tells the best story about your business, where it is going, what it is doing, how much. I don't care if you made no money and everything that you did in the beginning of the year when you started your business was you putting money into your business, you document that, because you want to be able to say, for the first 2 years, I invested this much money into my business as owner equity to be able to grow the business. And I began to turn a profit and be able to get some of that owner equity back in year 3. I started to break even in year 2.5. It really does tell the story of where you started and where you're going. Separate your business from your personal. Make sure you do not overlap. Make sure you keep everything very fine-tuned between your business and your personal. If you win the lottery and that is personal, and you're going to invest some of that money into your business, then that is a donation and or an investment, and you need to add that to your business accordingly as revenue, as or whatever you need to put for that money to show that that is something that is coming in. But it's not, oh, well, I got this extra money, so I'm just going to put it here, and I'm not documenting how the business got this windfall. It is an investment that does not need to be paid back, or is an investment that does need to be paid back with certain terms and percentages. Make sure that if you decide that you're going to do any type of financing after you've established your business, or in the beginning, even if your business is not established, but you see that you can raise capital or get some level of a loan, you got to keep your credit score up. You have to make sure that you can contribute to your business, because lenders want to be able to see that they're not just giving you money and you don't have a way of making money. They want to know that the business is profitable and that you have a way of making money and you've been contributing to the business. And they want to see a repayment ability, and they call it a loan to value ratio. If I give you this loan, what is the value, and is it feasible to give you that loan? Again, just some key things I want you to keep in mind, because it's so important that we do these things on so many levels. And I want to end off by giving you a few other financial tips for entrepreneurs. Some of them you've probably heard. Some of them I am going to re-stress because it's so important, and just give you a little feedback on each. So, separate your personal and business finances. And you've heard me say that at least 10 times during this session, and I'm saying it again. Keep your personal and your business finances separate. This is the first step in making sure that you just are aligning yourselves correctly. It's going to help you budget. If you know your personal expense, if your personal expenses intermingle with your business expenses, then you won't be able to get an accurate estimate of how much money your business brings in, how much you need to survive. And it just would be detrimental. You have to understand that you, as a person, as an individual, are your business's biggest cost. So you have to treat yourself that way. So you have to understand that if you don't do the things that you need to do, then you could cost your business success. ultimately its demise. And it also, at the end of the day, you're going to save yourself a headache trying to figure out, what goes where and who does what. Like, why? Takeaway 2, set aside cash for taxes. This might seem like, oh, well, yeah, I know I have to do that. But many business owners, especially those that are new, they underestimate this expense because certain businesses have to pay certain taxes. And we don't always know because tax laws change every year for businesses. So you just want to make it a general rule to have a separate account where you're just, anytime you make a profit, you're siphoning off money into that account for taxes. And if at the end of the year, you do not need to use it for taxes, great. Then you have a cushion for the next year in the event that you do. And it just keeps growing and it keeps growing. Or you get audited and they realize that, oh, you should have paid XYZ in taxes, but now you've got this money just sitting there to be able to handle that. And you're not scrambling. You want to have a separate bank account for this. And I think the recommended amount is 20% of your gross revenue or 35% of your net revenue each month. If you can swing that. If you can't, put away what you can, but you want to set aside money for taxes because you may have to pay, you may not. But you want to always just be prepared because the IRS will shut your business down. Period. Keep your receipts, every last one of them. Do not throw them out. Get a book, get a folder, get a file cabinet. Get an electronic scanner and scan your receipts into folders on your computer. Do not throw them out. If you're going to do that on the computer, then you make folders for the month of January, folders for the month of February. You start breaking them, whatever it is that you need to do so that you can track, you keep all your receipts because those receipts are the backup to what you put on your spreadsheet or in your accounting software. Those receipts help you reconcile your bank account. Those receipts help you make sure that you are balancing your balance sheets correctly. They help you predict your cash flow projections because you know what you're spending and or what you're receiving in. So your receipts are not only what you spend, but it's all the invoices that are paid. It's all the receipts for payment. It's all that you receive and that you give out. Haggle with suppliers. Let me explain. You are a startup. You are starting your business. If you are a product-based business and there are multiple suppliers and you need to have a relationship to be able to get a certain product and for your business, go with the lowest cost, best quality. But haggle. Don't feel uncomfortable saying, hey, is that a wholesale price? Is that a retail price? Is there any way that we can work out something in the middle because I'm going to be a repeat customer? Can you give me a better price on that? Be polite. Don't be nasty with it. But it doesn't hurt to ask. It does not hurt to ask. Can I get a discount for buying in bulk? If I pay you in installments, but I pay you off early, how does that work? Start to really look at who's supplying you, the things that you can do. Make sure you're looking at your ability to save, to cut corners financially without cutting quality. Which I kind of touched on, always shop around. Never settle for the first deal. Oh, I got all of this glitter that I needed for this project that I'm doing for my business, and it's going to be an ongoing project, and I paid $50 for it, and that's such a good price. Because so you thought. Because you didn't see that if you would have just dug 3 or 4 shops down, you could have got the same quality glitter for $15 less, saving yourself extra on what you have to now pay out. And that $15 can go to something else. So you always want to shop around. You always want to try to get the lowest quantity. You want to pay less without sacrificing quality. Because sometimes there are 2 shops that have the same quality, and one of them may be giving a better discount. One may have a coupon. One may have discount codes. You do not know, and you want to always make sure that you do that. It's just good business sense. Know what you can lose. Has business been slow? Did something unexpected happen? How quickly can you tolerate that non-essential expense? Can you say, you know what, business hasn't been good. Let me see where I can cut corners. I can afford to lose this to keep the business afloat. Know what you can lose. Know what's not important at this time. Set it to the side. It may come back later. But be realistic, be flexible, be adaptable. Because if revenues are not good and you need to look at ways to cut corners, what can go? What can you do without? What can you do without to be able to still produce the quality of your product and service, but reduce expense? So know what you can lose. Round up your expenses. Woo-hoo. Why do you want to do that? Why not? Plan ahead. So if something is $2.95, round it up to $4. Why? Because you're planning. It's not going to dramatically change your budget, but it will ensure that you save more. Just in case you miscalculate, you want to definitely not have a surprise cost on anything. So if your expenses are $5, round it up to $7. You give that self your cushion. You budget for more with the anticipation that you pay less. And if you budget for more and you consistently pay less and you have excess for those expenses, and then a big expense comes in, you now have something there to be able to handle that surprise expense that popped up, because you've mitigated that by rounding up your expenses as opposed to rounding down. Freelancers before full-time employees. You need a writer, you need a designer, you need a delivery person. You don't want to get a full-time employee. Who wants to pay employee taxes and disability insurance and all these things that really do cost if you're not there yet? So you get a freelancer. I need my website done, so I'm going to contract this person. It's going to cost me $1,000. He's going to do all the bells and whistles. We're done. One-time fee. You pay his invoice, and you've got what you need done. You want to hire the kid down the block, or you want to hire your son to help you, and you want to pay him like a little stipend. You can write that up in a contract. Got me a little intern and paying him a little stipend to help me with deliveries. It's so many ways. It's freelance. You want to do that before full-time employees, just to help mitigate costs, to save you money on sourcing, on hiring, on training, payroll fees, taxes, and a whole host of other expenses once you start hiring full-time W-2 employees into your business. You're just starting out. So unless you are built that way and you're building the company to be able to sustain that from day one, start with freelance. But when you do hire, make sure that you budget the full cost of what that looks like. And you're probably going to need some help because it's not just salary. You have to budget for training. You have to budget for materials. You have to budget for additional equipment. You have to budget for insurance, state and federal taxes, payroll fees. Yeah, it's a lot. So if and when you get to that point, make sure you're looking at the totality of what that looks like. Buy used. Buy used. Who the heck wants to do that? I do. Why? You need electronics. You need office furniture. Shop smart. You're just starting out. Or even if you've been in existence and it's not an essential that you have this, the latest and greatest of newness and niceness, get something nice and gently used. It's not going to cost you as much. Just make sure, again, it's quality. Because you can get quality for less. It doesn't make any sense. If it's something you really need, don't skimp. Buy what you need. If you need state-of-the-art to be able to produce, you buy that state-of-the-art. But any and everything else, buy used. It does not make any sense. Buy refurbished. Clearance furniture. Anything that is like, oh, you need a microwave for the office? Go on eBay. Get one for $20. Like, who wants to buy $100 microwave when you can get one for $20 just to heat up your lunch? Because you're just starting out. So it makes no sense. Another tip, stay at home. Where are you going? What you doing? You're just starting out. You're just starting this business. Work out from home. Save money on a gym membership. Do you really need a brick and mortar location? Can you work from your home? Because you want to build as much capital, you want to build as much revenue, you want to make as much profit before you start giving it away to things that will take out. You're going to save thousands of dollars on rent, furniture, transportation, at least in the short term. That will allow you to be able to do those things later because you're growing and focusing on growing your business. So if you can work from home, work from home. If you can mitigate costs depending on the type of business that you have, do that. It doesn't make sense to pay for a storefront and you don't even know if your product or service is going to be storefront worthy. Please, 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 please use a budgeting software. Again, QuickBooks, Excel, automated. Do not sit there and do it old school. Do not start pulling out a pen and paper and putting things down. Get with what is happening now. Everything is digital and it is to our benefit because it helps us look at things a lot differently. Most of the softwares are plug and play. You put the number in, it does everything else. If you know Excel well enough, you put the numbers in and you set it up the right way, it will do everything else at the click of a button and a couple of formulas. If you know somebody who's good with Excel, who can put a spreadsheet together for you, you can copy that same spreadsheet and use it year after year and just plug and play on the numbers because the formulas are already set. I cannot stress that enough. You will drive yourself crazy if you literally sit there and try to pen, paper, and calculator your budget. It's not going to work. Take your debt into account. You have to understand and see, like, where's my credit? My personal debt affects my startup business because until your business begins to make money, the bank is going to leverage your debt. It's going to leverage your credit to see if you are credit worthy. It's going to look at all of these things. So you want to try your best to make sure that you're paying your personal bills on time, that you're a credit-worthy individual when you're starting a business, because there is going to come a time when you're going to have to leverage yourself as collateral against your business until your business is able to do that on its own. And it'll help you also plan ahead, because if your debt ratio is intact, you'll understand the importance of keeping your debt ratio for your business intact. Partner with your neighbors. What the heck is that? If you have a brick and mortar location, partner with your neighbors. Hey neighbor, I'm doing this advertising special. You want to go in? We'll advertise both of our businesses and we can go half on the cost. Partner with your neighbor. You have an online presence and you have somebody else who has an online presence, and you decide to collaborate. And you're going to partner, you're going to share in the cost of marketing both of you at the same time. Why not? You're having a sidewalk sale, you're doing a pop-up shop, you're doing a symposium. Say, hey, would you like to get into my symposium? Hey, Theresa, we're doing a symposium. I would love it if you wouldn't mind partnering with me on this. We can share the cost of advertising and putting this thing together, and any revenues that come in, we can split. But guess what? We're working together. We're getting advertising. We're putting ourselves out there. We can get creative with how we do it. And we're putting ourselves in a position where we both make money. Volunteer at local events. Why? Simply because it gets you seen. Free advertising. It's a no-brainer. Oh, there's this event. I'm going to volunteer, because while I volunteer, I can network. And while I'm networking, I can hand out business cards and or flyers. I can help organize the event. I can become a sponsor because I have a business, and because I'm volunteering and I'm sponsoring with my time and energy, that event is going to say, and our lovely sponsor, Rasheeda Frazier of Empowering Greatness, and you should check out her website because she does all these phenomenal things, XYZ. I just got free advertisement because I decided to lend 2 or 3 hours in planning time and 5 to 6 hours in volunteering time at a local event. And in turn, they paid me with free advertising. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Got to think outside of the box. Get insurance. I cannot tell you that there are so many people who start a business who feel that they do not have to get business insurance, general business liability. They think they can skip this process. They think that it's like, what could happen? Better safe than sorry. General business liability insurance, product liability insurance, errors and omissions insurance, so many things depending on what it is that you do. Sometimes you can get a policy that has all of that roped up into one. That is one expense that is so necessary across the board when you start a business, because you want to protect yourself. You want to make sure that something unexpected doesn't happen. Somebody sues you or files a claim against you, and how are you going to pay that if you don't have insurance, especially if your business is only making a certain amount of money? You want to insure yourself the same way you insure your car. Because if you get in a car accident, how are you going to pay for that if you don't have any insurance? It's the same way that if something happens with your business, how are you going to pay for that if you don't have insurance? Your insurance helps you mitigate those unexpected expenses and happenings. And it also allows for you not to sink your business by having to take all of its profits and now pay out for something that you had no intention of paying out. But if you had a business insurance policy, that is, and because you're paying into that each month, quarterly or yearly, depending on what you set up, that the money is there, like life insurance. You die, your loved ones are able to not come out of their pocket to bury you because you've insured yourself. to make sure that you're taken care of at the end of your life cycle. You want to do that for your business. Join a business association. And while there may be small membership fees that are attached to this, joining local business associations are the best way to network, the best way to meet other people, to get discounts, to stay fresh in entrepreneurship and business arenas, to attend different associations and find out just more. It keeps you going. I am actively a part of quite a few business associations, and I attend workshops and I attend networking events, and I meet so many great people. Theresa is a part of a lot of different business networks and other professional networks, and it has afforded her the same thing. It helps us to get more clients. It helps us to gain access. It helps us to help other people that we may know who need something within our network resource. But it's a benefit that is worth the cost. And usually the cost is nominal. So I would honestly really think about looking into different business associations that you can leverage. And finally, the biggest thing that I want you to realize is that you have to ask for help. Financial experts ask other financial experts for help. You cannot do this journey alone. You need assistance, you need advice, you need direction. There are certain things that you're going to be able to do on your own. There are certain things that you're going to be able to, because it is easy, but it's gonna come a time when you're gonna have a question, and you should not be answering those questions by yourself. You want to tap into your network. You want to tap into your accountant. You want to tap into other people in associations and colleagues that are doing these things, because it will help you to be able to catch problems ahead. It will help to steer you in the right direction. You gotta understand, budgeting is intense. I know it sounds a lot. It's not as intense as most people think, but I will give it its due course. It's not the most fun thing to do. You're an entrepreneur. You want to create. You want to give your product or service. You want to be able to do these things. That is your focus. But you will not be able to do those things without this necessary step. And this necessary step along the journey is making sure that you are documenting, and that you are budgeting, and that you are forecasting, and that you are looking at things that are going to help you grow. And that is this mundane, tedious step is going to make your life so much easier. And it's going to really make you happy. So ask for help along this journey of money, of budgeting, of finance. Don't assume, and do not rely solely on Google University, which I implore you to do research and use it. But once you have it, start reaching out to people now, get a deeper understanding. Call Theresa or I, hire a good accountant, make sure that you are looking at things and along your journey, and you're getting the help that you need so that you can move forward the way that you need to toward optimal success of profitability. And that is the end of my presentation to you around budgeting and finance.
Lovely presentation.
Thank you.
So much great information. I'm just over here thinking, like, can you imagine if everyone did this, like went this route with their finances when they're as an entrepreneur?
Right. Even personally, like, how much better would we be if we just kind of paid attention to what was coming in and what was going out?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
How much money could we save? How much debt could we reduce? And how many things could we accomplish?
And how long would your business stay open? Like, just the journey
Absolutely.
of entrepreneurship, a lot of businesses fail due to not finances or not
Again,
properly budgeting, and the way you the information that you gave even about the rounding up,
yeah,
that's awesome. Like, these are important tips as an
they're very
entrepreneur.
important tips. Round
Yes,
up, like round up. What's a couple of extra dollars going to do?
right.
It's going to
I
sit
love it.
there and create a cushion.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I
And
love
that's
it.
why I even started off with just talking about uh, kind of like those key things that causes business failure. It's
Hmm.
because we're not paying attention to the things that are going to allow us to generate profitability. We're not
Yes.
looking at the things that we need to within our business or our industry. I don't care how small the business is or how big the business is.
Hmm.
These are just some very basic foundational things that we have to think about.
Yeah,
And a lot
absolutely.
of times, as fresh entrepreneurs, and even just entrepreneurship in general, these are not the things that we know that we're taught. We're just taught, I've got a great product or service, get it out there, let's go, let's go. And we forget that no, that is not what we're supposed to do. Slow and steady
Yes,
wins the race. Proper planning, properly looking at things.
yes,
And
yes.
it really is not that bad.
Hmm.
Once you set your mind that I have to do this and it's going to be for my benefit, once you break the inertia and you get over what it is that you have to get over, it's phenomenal
Hmm.
because it just
Definitely.
flows. And
Yes.
you just begin to, it's a level of clarity that you gain and that you're able to see like what it is that really needs to happen. So yeah.
Wow. I even love how you mentioned Excel. I started off with Excel, and I still use Excel with some things, but
Yeah.
like, don't underestimate Excel.
Don't underestimate Excel. I mean, back in the day, I've seen businesses start with Lotus 123.
Yes,
I'm taking it back,
yes, absolutely.
and that was Excel's mama.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you can't underestimate the value of what you have in front of you. If you can't afford the uh, budgeting software, if you can't afford a monthly subscription for QuickBooks or
Mm-hmm.
Intuit, whatever it is that they have out here. I think they have one called Mint. So many different softwares that they have. Guess
Yeah.
what? Crack that Excel sheet open
Yes.
and and get it done until you can move to even better automation.
And that even made me think of what you talked about as far as like joining a business association or having the opportunities to network, because
Absolutely.
I've met some awesome entrepreneurs where we clicked and we had the same,
Absolutely.
mentality, same morals and business ethics, and we were able to barter and
Absolutely.
help each other out in some
Mhm.
way, where I was able to get a service that I really needed, that they're really great at. And then I was able to give a service to them that they needed, that I was really great at. So
And that's how you build your business within your network as well.
yeah.
That's how you leverage other people's business, other people's services.
Mm-hmm.
Networking, which I implore us that we work together on a session
Mm-hmm.
on networking
Yes.
because there are some great things that you can really leverage and do just by networking for your business.
Yes. Yes.
And networking is how you get referrals. It's
Mm-hmm.
the most basic word of mouth advertising
Mm-hmm.
because you're referring other people and people are referring you. You
Yeah.
want to be like they say, you want somebody to champion you when you're not in the room. And the only
Mm-hmm.
way they're going to do that and help you along your journey is if you're also doing that for them. If you
Yeah.
develop those relationships and you really are keen on working with people, I think it's like the best thing.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. And
Yeah.
building authentic relationships,
It's building
because
authentic
oh my
relationships.
goodness, not just surface relationships, but authentic relationships, those who you connect with.
Right.
Because you just never know. Even with me and you, it's like, hey, Rasheeda, I'm not offering this service anymore. But guess what? The people that
Right.
come to me, I'm going to send them over there to you for this service
Absolutely.
because, so,
And vice versa. Like, I'm
right.
not doing this, but this is what you do. So if I get anybody that comes across my path, no, you need to go speak to Theresa.
Yeah.
And guess what that does?
Mm-hmm.
It helps with your expenses. It
Yeah.
helps with your ability to not have to maybe hire a freelance to do certain things because you're now leveraging your network. So you see how everything that you do ties back into your ability to budget. It ties back
Mm-hmm.
into your ability to look at your finances, to lower your expenses, to make sure that all of these things so that you can move forward the way that you
Mm-hmm.
need to. So it's all interconnected, it's all intertwined. And so, yeah, I love this session. This is one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Yes.
And there was so much more information that I could have put out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and thank you for helping me to condense it because we would have been here all night. And I would have been happy being here all night,
Yes.
like excited. But we've got to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody has any questions. If you want to put it in the chat or put it in Q&A, we will try our best to answer questions. But yeah, I think it is so important. Okay, what do we have? Thank you. Love this part of the presentation. I've always known how to budget to survive and stay out of debt, but now I have to learn how to budget to make money for myself. Yes.
I love that.
Yes, you got it. You got it. That is the key. It's the strategy of not just budgeting to survive, but it's budgeting to grow.
Yeah.
And whether it is in your personal life or your business life, you have to budget to grow. You have
Mm-hmm.
to look at ways to invest. You have to look at ways to invest in something that's going to generate the revenues that you need, that are going to
Yeah.
increase your assets, that are going to increase that cash flow. Um, it really is. And any and every terminology that you heard, I hope that you wrote and took a lot of notes. Begin to understand, begin to Google it, begin to look at what these things are, because
Mm-hmm.
it's so important for you to understand just those basics of business finance, those basics of budgeting and money. Money is not scary, and it's something that we need to survive personally, and it's something that our businesses need to survive. And if we don't develop a healthy understanding and relationship of just some very basic financial terminologies and really
Mm-hmm.
what they mean, you're going to scare yourself into failure.
Yeah.
And that is not what we want. Yeah, it's not what we want at all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
So if there are no more questions, then I think that we've had another amazing session. And I cannot
Yes.
believe that we are at week 4.
Oh my goodness. 2 more sessions.
2 more sessions. Oh, I'm having too much fun. So
Mm-hmm.
for those of you who are with us, remember, next Wednesday, same time, same link. We are then going to be talking about, if my memory serves me correctly, what not to do on the journey.
Yeah, things that prevent you from moving forward.
Things that prevent you
Yeah.
from moving forward. There you go.
How not to be
And
stuck. Get stuck.
how not to get stuck. That's going to
Yeah.
be
And it's
real
interesting
interesting.
because it's a business topic, but it's also
A
personal.
personal topic. Mm-hmm.
Yes, is about your personal journey of entrepreneurship.
And we are going to retouch on mindset again in that.
Yes.
Because that's a part of it. So just kind of giving you guys a little prelude. We're going to bring some of the topics that we spoke about in our first 4 sessions into that with some other, fruitful stories and just different real life scenarios that get us stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately is going to culminate into our last session, which is happening in 2 weeks, where you're actually going to we're going to have dialogue with entrepreneurs who have done this before, who are still doing this, and they are going to share just their insight into the journey, the highs, the lows, and it is going to be a fruitful dialogue. And so we hope that you continue with us all the way through the end. And we look forward to seeing everyone next week, Wednesday.
Yes. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening, everyone. Good night.
Bye.